in Gretna. Officiating. Memorials may be directed to the family for future designation. Arrangements being handled by the Manderlow Smith Funeral Home in Emerson, Nebraska. Richard Dick Stevens, age 78. Mass of Christian burial, Friday, 10 a.m., St. Peter's Catholic Church. Thursday, 4 to 8 p.m., with 7 p.m. vigil service at the funeral home. Interment, St. Mary Magdalene Cemetery. In lieu of flowers, memorials to St. Peter's Catholic Church. Arrangements by the Corisco Larkin Staskowitz Funeral Home at 5108 F Street. Gerald Jerry Strassheim, age 87. Graveside service Monday, December 10th at 9 a.m. at Omaha National Cemetery with military honors. Funeral service, Memorial December 10th at 11 a.m. Trinity Episcopal Cathedral, 118 North 18th Street. In lieu of flowers, memorials to Salvation Army, Open Door Mission, Hospice House, Opera, Omaha. Complete notice later. Arrangements being handled by the West Center Chapel. We have a couple that passed away within a few days of each other. Max Tiffany passed away on November 26th, age 85, and 3 days earlier, his wife Beverly Tiffany, age 76, passed away on November 23rd. Celebration of Max and Beverly's lives, Friday, December 7th at 11 a.m. with visitation 1 hour prior to the service. All at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, 14680 California Street. Interment, Omaha National Cemetery. For more details, visit www.brahmanmortuary.com. And this is being handled by the Brahman Mortuary, Southwest Chapel, 6505 South 144th Street in Omaha. Patricia Jean Town, age 88. Memorial service, Friday, December 7th, 1:30 p.m. at Kremer Funeral Home. In lieu of flowers, memorials directed to the Alzheimer's Association, Nebraska chapter. And this is the Kremer, K-R-E-M-E-R, Funeral Home, 6302 Maple Street in Omaha. James Vorel. James passed away at Valhaven Center in Valley, Nebraska, where he had lived for 4 years. No further information on funeral arrangements. Virginia Welch, age 85, celebration of life for family and friends on Sunday, December 9th, 3 to 6 p.m. at the home of William and Pamela Welch. No further information. George Wilfred Wignall, W-I-G-N-A-L-L, age 78. George was from Beatrice. Service Friday, December 7th, 10:30 a.m. at Volzke, V-O-L-Z-K-E, Volzke Funeral Home. Officiating John Palmquist. Let's see, interment Friday, December 7th, and in Beatrice Cemetery, memorials in care of the Wignall family. Volzke Funeral Home, 147 Main Street, Seward, Nebraska, 402-643-2515. 2 memoriams, one to Bill Bruno, who passed 9 years ago today, and the second to Janet Jorgensen, who passed away 11 years ago. And that completes obituaries in the Omaha World Herald.
And these are the obituaries from the Lincoln Journal-Star for Wednesday, December 5. These are not in alphabetical order. Lange, Deb Lange, I believe that's the pronunciation, L-A-N-G-E, 65 years old. Funeral service will be 10:30 a.m. Thursday, December 6th at the St. Paul Lutheran Church in Malcolm, Nebraska. Memorials to St. Paul Lutheran Cemetery or Alzheimer's Association. Funeral arrangements are entrusted to Zabka Funeral Home in Seward and Dwight, Nebraska. Coffee, Janet L. Coffee, age 56 of Lincoln. Funeral service will be 10 a.m. That's actually probably almost completed by now. That was today at the Butheris Mazer and Love Funeral Home on A Street. Curry, Leo W. Curry, age 68, was 1:30 a.m. on Thursday, December 6th on the campus, Episcopal Church at 13th and R Streets in Lincoln. In lieu of flowers, memorials established toward the education of Maxwell and Samuel Curry. Lauber Moore Funeral Homes in Milford is handling the arrangements. Our Villa Arlostro, age 99, services is 11 a.m. on Saturday, December 8 at Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church on 126th Street in Lincoln. The Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home on 14th Street is handling the arrangements. Philpott, Geraldine Alice Philpott, age 82 of Lincoln. Celebration of Life luncheon will be held from 11 to 1 p.m. Saturday, December 8 at Colonial Chapel Funeral Home on R Street. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be given to the family. Westcott, Joyce Marie Westcott, age 84, from Raymond, Nebraska. Funeral service 10 a.m. Thursday, December 6th at the Chapel of Roper and Sons Funeral Home on O Street. Memorials may be sent to the Alzheimer's Association or the Raymond Fire and Rescue. Pierce, Justin Matthew Pierce, age 30, funeral mass 11 a.m. Thursday at St. Peter's Catholic Church on Duxell Drive. Memorials in lieu of flowers to Educational Fund for Avery Catherine Pierce, Hastings College Athletic Fund, or Pius X Educational Fund. Roper and Sons South Lincoln Chapel is handling the arrangement. Wignall, George Wilfred Wignall, age 78. Volk's Funeral Home in Seward is handling the arrangements with services at 10:30 a.m. Friday at the funeral home. Memorials in care of the family. Wilson, Joel M. Wilson, originally from Chicago, passed away at South Haven Living Center in Wahoo, Nebraska. Funeral services 10 a.m. Saturday, December 8 at Evangelical Covenant Church on Pine Street in Ceresco, Nebraska. Memorials to the Evangelical Covenant Church of Ceresco and the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Metcalf Funeral Services is handling the arrangements. Worst, Christy D. Worst of Lincoln, maiden name Edwards, 56 years old, passed away Friday, November 23rd. There will be a private family gathering which will take place at a later date. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Kenny, Marie Catherine Kenny, passed away in Lincoln at age 98. There will be a funeral service Monday on 12/10 at First Evangelical Covenant Church at 6400 L Street, Lincoln. Memorials to the First Evangelical Church or Women's Heritage League of Lincoln, Roper and Sons on O Street is handling the arrangements. Wimmer, Lloyd R. Wimmer, Big Springs, Texas, formerly of Sterling, Nebraska. He has been cremated and a graveside service will be held in the spring of 2019. Zink Fox Funeral Home of Sterling is handling the arrangements. Scholl, David E. Scholl, age 87 of Lincoln, passed away December 2. Services will be held Thursday at Wyuka Funeral Home with military honors. Memorials to the family. Card, Bruce A. Card, age 61, formerly of Cloquet, Minnesota. Celebration of Life gathering from 3 to 8 p.m. on December 7th at Bruce's residence, and it doesn't give an address for that. Aspen Aftercare is handling the arrangements. Oles, Shirley M. Oles, that's O-H-L-E-S, 91 of Kent, Ohio. A memorial service will be at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, December 15 at the Kent, Ohio Presbyterian Church. Groff Funeral Homes and Crematory is assisting the family with arrangements. I'm assuming that's in Kent, Ohio. Memorials are suggested to Kent Social Services, Kent Presbyterian Church, the activity program of Parkview Healthcare, or donors. Goldenberg, Erwin Goldenberg, age 93 of Omaha, formerly of Lincoln, passed away December 4. Graveside services 12:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 6th at Mount Carmel Cemetery in Lincoln, Butheris, Mazer, and Love Funeral Home handling arrangements. Patterson, Barton L. Patterson, age 72 of Lincoln, passed away December 2. Celebration of life will be 1 p.m. Saturday, December 8 at Colonial Chapel Funeral Home on R Street. Matt Lutomsky, age 24 of Austin, Texas, memorial and celebration of life at 11 a.m. Saturday, December 8 at Roper and Son Funeral Services on Hohensee Drive. Donations to National Park Foundation and Austin Humane Society. Aaron, Rusha, Aaron, A-I-R-A-N. She was born on September 28th, September 21, 1928. It doesn't list the age. In Pune, India. Services 11 a.m. Saturday, December 8, held at Trinity Youth and United Methodist Church on Kentwell Lane in Lincoln. Memorials in lieu of flowers to a charitable organization of the family's choice. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Pio, Mary B. Pio, age 96. No public services, private family interment will be held at Wyuka Cemetery. Memorials to charity of your choice. Plouts, Bernice A. Plouts, age 90 of Lincoln. Funeral services will be held 10:30 a.m. Friday, December 7 at Trinity Lutheran Church on South 12th Street in Lincoln. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Memorials may be made to Lincoln City Mission. Geraldine Jerry Miller, age 90. Memorial services will be held 11 a.m. Saturday, December 15 at Capital City Christian Church on Holdridge Street. Memorials will be divided between Jerry's home church, Frieden's Lutheran Church, and the Alzheimer's Association. There is no funeral home listed. Koppel, Edward Koppel, age 95. Memorial service will be held 10 a.m. Monday, December 10 at the First Plymouth Church on D Street. Memorials in lieu of flowers to First Plymouth Church or Koppel Family YMCA, care of the Roper and Son Funeral Services. And my final listing is Buss, Mary G. Buss, age 75 of Lincoln. Memorial services will be held at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, December 8 at Wyuka Funeral Home. Memorials to the Meal Ministry at Christ Lutheran Church or to the family for a later designation.
Yes, thank you. And as a final word, listeners' memorials to the Radio Talking Book Network are tax deductible and go a long way to keeping Radio Talking Book on the air. Please keep Radio Talking Book in mind when memorials are listed as donor's choice or your favorite charity. Donations should be sent to Radio Talking Book Network, 7101 Newport Avenue, Suite 205, Omaha, Nebraska, 68152. Thank you for being a Radio Talking Book listener and supporter.
Thank you, Peter. We'll return to our readers in just
that was long.
You're tuned to Radio Talking Book Network in Omaha, Nebraska. We've been proudly serving our.
So I think reading that article that Bounds talking to the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it's like my son graduated from UNL, undergrad, but did his graduate in University of Missouri. Moved away from Omaha. My daughter graduated from UNL, did her master's program at Marquette, and now lives in Milwaukee.
Good morning.
And I doubt very much if they'll come back to Omaha.
For today,
I think that
They don't have the opportunities here.
well, actually my daughter does, but she met a young man in Milwaukee who is an architect, and he's got a good job in Milwaukee. And as long as that's going on, she's a bilingual speech pathologist. She can go anywhere. So, she,
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with live audio description.
I think would like to move back here, but I doubt that she would because of that. And my son,
well, you have to have a reason. I mean, employment is obviously a big reason. Family is another big reason.
With my son being a consultant for Deloitte, he's not coming back to Omaha anytime soon. And with his wife to be working for the State Department, if she continues doing that, they will stay in DC.
Is she civil service or foreign service?
Well, I think it would be considered foreign service.
Don't miss this holiday
Is she
classic.
gone overseas?
Just for meetings on occasion.
Then she's
No
probably
registration
civil
is required
service.
inside
Yeah.
the family and friends
Because
are
they
welcome
have,
to attend.
the State Department
Doors open
employs
at 6:30
10,000
p.m.
civil
You can set
service
a mobile pickup
employees
for
in
10.
Washington.
For more
You know,
information, please call
lawyers,
Lisa Kelly at
administrators, all kinds of people who are there permanently, you see.
402-3331.
Foreign service, you're in and out, in and out, in and out. You know?
By the way, I just want to inquire. I was sitting here racking my brain. Who played the unwelcome cousin? Was that Dennis Quaid or Randy Quaid? I don't remember
Which movie?
Quaid it was. Thank you very much, Becca Girardi, for reading us that public service announcement.
You get the
There's
second
about
half
6
kickoff,
quotable
right? You
lines
do that?
from National
I can do
Land
that,
Grant
sure.
Specification.
Yeah, so I think, you know, Deloitte's got 60,000
Now
people
here
working
is
for them
Michael Hogan.
worldwide. And, you know, so
Reading
if
of
he,
the Omaha
as long as he's with the
World
Fed
Herald
group,
and
he's
Lincoln
not.
Journal
I'm sorry,
Star
My son,
are
you know, working for
today
Deloitte,
by
Deloitte's got
Welfare
about
Health
60,000 people that
Proud
work for
reports
worldwide.
exclusively
So, but as long as he's
on
with the federal group, I
government-sponsored
don't think he's gonna go
Medicare
anywhere.
services.
not really
Medicaid
Washington, yeah.
And
So-
Medicare
And he
prescription
travels so
drug
much. He
plans,
leaves Monday morning for Atlanta,
children, and
flies
seniors
back
in Nebraska.
Thursday afternoon,
For more about
every week.
WellCare,
And he'll be
call
doing it.
I
today
hate that.
He'll be doing it for probably another year.
255.
Traveling is such a hassle anymore, you know. And the airlines
www.
keep squeezing
wellcare.com
more and more passengers
/Nebraska.
onto the planes.
He keeps traveling so much, so he's
Michael,
got.
now let's return to
I'm
Studio
not sure
A
where
for
they,
the
where
second hour
they
of
sit
the
him, but I'm
live
sure it's pretty good.
Omaha World Herald. Once again, coming to the microphones, here are Peter Gadzinski and Bob Godding. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, and from the Omaha World Herald opinion page, the main editorial, super titled Grassley Proposal, main title, Prison Reform, Sound Ideas. A remarkably broad ideological coalition has come together to support a prison/criminal sentencing reform bill by U.S. Senator Charles Grassley. The legislation, backed by a bipartisan group of 27 Senate co-sponsors, would change policies for sentencing and prison policy for federal crimes. The goals are worthy. Federal prisons would focus on incarcerating violent criminals and high-level drug offenders. The criminal justice system would emphasize prison alternatives for more nonviolent offenders. Judges would be given a degree of sentencing flexibility, and the federal government would devote greater attention to programs helping offenders transition back into society. The Fraternal Order of Police, National District Attorneys Association, Association of State Corrections Administrators, National Governors Association, plus conservative advocacy groups such as Freedom Works and Heritage Action, say these changes would emphasize best practices that make the most effective use of taxpayer dollars. The NAACP praises Grassley's bill for promoting greater fairness in sentencing and treatment of inmates. The National Association of Evangelicals says the changes would enhance the opportunities for rehabilitation. And all these groups agree that the federal prison system needs to do far more to properly prepare inmates for re-entry into society and reduce the recidivism rate. Federal prisons hold about 183,000 inmates and each year release about 40,000 men and women. About 45% of federal inmates are rearrested within 5 years of release, according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission. President Donald Trump is supporting the Grassley bill, as are 172 former federal prosecutors. The House passed similar legislation in May on a vote of 360 to 59. The Senate Republican leadership needs to stop dragging its feet on the issue and allow the bill to be debated and voted on. It's proper for senators to scrutinize the Grassley bill closely, especially in regard to critics' claims that it's soft on crime. But we find that U.S. Senator Mike Lee, Republican, used sound points in support of the bill. Lee, a former federal prosecutor, is one of the bill's 13 Republican co-sponsors. The bill wouldn't allow prisoners to be released in an ad hoc, irresponsible fashion, Lee notes. Instead, Federal wardens would be the key decision makers on whether a prisoner would receive additional credits for quicker release. The bill requires that reentry programs be evidence-based for effectiveness and subject to continuing data analysis. Those convicted of major crimes, such as heroin or fentanyl trafficking, would not be eligible for release time flexibility. This approach, Lee wrote, means that, quote, experienced law enforcement officers would determine whether an offender is a danger, a job they do daily. Similar risk assessments have already been implemented in Texas and Georgia, unquote, at the state level. Offenders would be eligible to earn prison release credits only if prison officials deem them a minimum or low recidivism risk. Grassley has put together balanced legislation with impressively broad support to address this complicated issue. His bill deserves passage this year in the Senate.
Every once in a while, there's an editorial cartoon that catches my eye, and I'll try to describe this one because I think it's of interest. The caption on it is Zuckerbird, and it shows the body of an ostrich with its neck going down to the ground using the Facebook logo F, and Mark Zuckerberg's head underneath the sand. Over in the left corner is the Kremlin with extremely large antennas broadcasting towards the United States. And in the right side is hate speech, and it's growing to an enormous amount. And I guess overall gist of the editorial cartoon is that Russia is pushing a lot of hate speech into the United States, and Mark Zuckerberg is basically turning a blind eye to it. The editorial from the editorial board of the Lincoln Journal-Star today says, it is entitled, Report Shows Secrecy Persists at Corrections. It's another article about prisons, but I think it's well worth discussing. For 3 years, Nebraska prison officials attributed the 2015 Mother's Day riot at the Tecumseh State Correctional Institute, which left 2 inmates dead and did extensive damage to the facility, to a random, spontaneous uprising. That narrative, first unveiled in the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services initial report that summer, persisted until last week. During a civil trial in which a former inmate sought damages for hardships he endured during and after the riot, it came to light that a second report existed that was also commissioned by Corrections in 2015, one that painted a far more critical picture of the department. In it, the authors told of a barometric pressure that was high and rising, making the prison ripe for rebellion. Numerous reports have detailed the need for a cultural change within the walls of the state's correctional institutions. Last week's discovery adds another improvement: transparency in need of illustration. It never should have taken a lawsuit several years after the fact to reveal this information. It suggests about addressing a staffing shortage, inmate grouping, and a lack of programming remain applicable as problems continue to plague the state's prison system. The agency's secrecy is an affront to Nebraskans. Our tax dollars fund the state prison operations, including the $20,000 spent on this previously unreleased report. Those operations have deservedly been under a microscope in recent years. Yet the Corrections Department has repeatedly spurned attempts to oversight by lawmakers and the media. A legal victory by the Journal-Star and other news outlets seeking details about the drugs used to execute Carrie Dean Moore was immediately appealed, allowing the execution to occur. Meanwhile, Attorney General Doug Peterson sued several state senators for a special committee's effort to subpoena Corrections Director Scott Frakes. In 2016, the second report should have been included among documents related to the riot that were requested by then Judiciary Chairman Les Seiler. Despite the breadth of his request, which certainly would have included the 2015 report, the findings remained a secret for 2 more years. The most recent discovery begs further questions. Is Corrections hiding something else? If so, what? If a study that criticized the culture within the Tecumseh facility and state prisons as a whole was buried for 3 years, perhaps another document exists that shine new light on Nebraska's beleaguered penal system. Prisons aren't the place to leave and forget about our state's dirty laundry. Though they are out of sight for many Nebraskans, they shouldn't be out of mind. As such, additional transparency, not just the kind mandated by a trial, would be a step toward helping fix corrections problems.
Thank you. And in the Omaha World Herald, we have 4 letters from the Public Pulse. First one is entitled, "We Have Come So Far," and it's from James E. Burns of Omaha. "We advanced so very far when we won our independence as a nation, founded by brave men on noble principles. There were many problems, but we came so far. Within 90 years, this new nation engaged in civil war. It cost 620,000 lives. That huge price was paid to end slavery. Many problems remained, but we came so far. World War I needed our country to close down a dictator, and we did. The nation recognized the fairness of women voting. Many problems remained, but we came so far. Again, the world called America, this time to World War II, and we prevented a world takeover by yet another dictator. Atom bombs finally ended the war, and many lives were saved, but we continued to grapple with the bomb's existence and use. We created the United Nations and sponsored the founding of Israel. There were still many problems, but we came so far. Slowly, we opened our eyes to racial discrimination and sexual discrimination and are dealing with it. Our standard of living became the envy of the world, and we are having difficulty dealing with all this freedom and wealth. Still a very imperfect union, but a shining example for others. We have come so far. Onward." Second letter is entitled, "Catholic Report is Too Little, Too Late," and it's from Michael Pirocello in Omaha. "As a lifelong Catholic, I was disgusted with the report released last week by the Archdiocese of Omaha." And this is reference acknowledging ugly truths of the past in the December 1st World Herald. "There is an insidious sickness plaguing the church. It has been festering for years, and Catholic leaders have obfuscated and prevaricated the issue. The report is too little, too late. The moral authority of the Catholic Church has decayed to the point of collapse. My heart is broken for the innumerable victims of abuse. If there was any time for a miracle, it's now." Third one is entitled, "Bipartisan Move on Climate Change," and this is from Tracy Stanko of Omaha. The December 2nd Omaha World Herald featured a very helpful article on what we as individuals can do to help reduce the emissions of heat-trapping gases, thereby contributing to a healthier environment. And this is an article entitled, "How Can Ordinary People Combat Global Warming?" Add to those tips the difference we can make at the legislative level by urging our congressional representatives to support H.R. 7173, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. Introduced November 27th, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act is the first bipartisan climate bill in a decade and is supported by economists as simple, comprehensive, and effective. It proposes to place a steadily rising fee on carbon pollution and pass on the collected revenue to American households equally. The bill is a market-based approach designed to drive down carbon pollution while creating more than 2 million jobs over the next 10 years through the stimulation of innovation and clean energy. And with an exemption for the agricultural sector, it is farmer-friendly. This is a bipartisan solution whose time has come. Let's make the climate a bridge issue, not a wedge issue, and urge our congressional representatives to support this bill in the next Congress. Finally, this submission is entitled, "Trump as Type A Egomaniac," and it's from Marcia Anderson of Omaha. Don Shenham wrote that he, quote, "loves what Trump is doing," unquote, This is from the November 27th Public Pulse. It's too bad that he did not list some concrete examples. He stated that President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military. Well, he gave them more money, but Trump has failed to address the continuing Russian hacking of our democracy. Maybe the military can shoot our computers. Stenham says that liberalism is gone, but the Democrats were elected to a majority in the House and made strides in many state government legislatures and governorships. He says that other nations respect us or fear us. Really? North Korea is expanding its missile program. Russia continues to do whatever it wants with regard to Trump. And Saudi Arabia has tested the waters that torture and murder are okay against journalists. GM is laying off 14,000 US workers, and our deficit is out of control. The only thing the letter said that I understand is that Trump is a type A egomaniac.
There are two letters to the editor in the Lincoln Journal-Star. We'll cover those real quickly. Molly Mayhew of Lincoln writes that Richard Turns, along with other Lincoln residents and visitors, think the city bike lanes will cost too much. From an article, Lincoln Bike Plan will cost too much, published on November 29. Okay, let's get out our calculators again. You've been struck by a car while riding your bike and left paralyzed. What is your daily functionality worth to you? For me, to use my fingers to type this message, that's easily worth $250,000 to me. To use my legs to walk to the restroom and my arms to push open the door, at least $1 million each time. To have my brain functioning every day, to have it process ideas, feelings, recipes, poems, new skills, and everything else, I am not entirely sure there is a number high enough. I get it. Not everyone rides a bike. But to hell if bikers do not deserve a safe space to commute or be physically active. After 20 years of close calls, I finally had a distracted driver hit me with his car while I was biking. Do you know what it feels like to be hit by a car, Richard? Perhaps if you did, you would reconsider your stance. Every city has debt. Adding more bike lanes has the potential to reduce the number of cars on the road, which reduces road maintenance, which in time will save money. Stand back a little further and take in the big picture. And Bruce Allen of Blue Springs writes, it's disgraceful what our politicians are saying and doing about global warming. There are huge ice melts and glaciers are disappearing. More ice melting means less ice to cool, which means the problem is getting worse faster. The world's population in 1951 was 2,553,816,786. Wow, that's interesting. The population at 1 p.m. on Monday was nearly triple that, at 7,667,468,100. By 245 p.m., it grew to 7,667,484,500. Showing how slow I am, the higher it grows, the faster the number increases. A huge problem is that poor and third world countries are growing fastest. They don't care, don't believe it's a problem, or sadder yet, don't even know about global warming. Neither side is totally wrong or right. Earth is, and it's caused by humans. It's caused by more humans growing more crops for food and more animals for meat and more crops to feed them, which produces more waste, which produces more carbon dioxide gas. Politicians doing stupid things before checking are increasing the problem instead of making it better. Peter?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's read some comics. That a Baby, first panel has 3 toddlers playing with toys. And the question is, so what's your all-time favorite mammal? In the next panel, the little girl says, reindeer. In the third panel, the boy answers, elephants. And in the fourth panel, the other child answers, mom. Okay. Pickles. It says in the first panel, a young woman and an older woman. And the younger woman says, Aunt Pearl, that would have been cute if you had married my dad. You would have been Earl and Pearl. The second panel, the older woman replies, yes, I know. I was going to give our children rhyming names too. Burl, Merle, Cheryl, and Verl. And in the third panel, she continues, it was right after I mentioned that he broke up with me. In the fourth panel, she's crying into a handkerchief and she says, He said rhyming children's names made him want to hurl. So that was the end of their romance. Zit's the ongoing story of the Christmas photo. They're all in Christmas sweaters. In the first one, Jeremy says, "We're going to a photo studio for this holiday portrait, right?" And the mom answers, "No." And in the second panel, she says, "I thought we'd do an outdoor setting at the park." And Jeremy shouts, "The park!" And in the third panel, Jeremy is holding his hands to his head and shouting, "Other people go to the park." And she's saying, "I was thinking we could all hold hands." I'm sure he'd love that. All right, so we have Garfield now. You know, Garfield, John says in the first panel, you know, Garfield, Christmas isn't too far off. In the second panel, Garfield is thinking, that can only mean one thing. And in the third panel, he's lifting up the top of the sugar bowl and saying, Santa's spies are around. So it's going to be good, I guess, in anticipation. Baby blues. First panel, the boy is talking to the dad who's shaving. "Dad, are we getting a Christmas tree this year?" The dad replies, "Of course." In the second panel, the boy says, "Cool." The third panel, the boy says, "Can we get one with a rope swing on it?" And the father replies, "It wouldn't be Christmas without a trip to urgent care." So that's it for our cartoons today.
Tis the season, and there's a lot of family events coming up in the Lincoln area, so we'll go through some of those. There's an Italian Christmas from 3 to 5 p.m. on December 9. The Lincoln Music Teacher Association is a presentation with classical guitarist Antonio Forgione. Italian pastries will be served post-concert, and that $10 donation is suggested. Holy Savior Lutheran Church on North 10th Street is where the event will be held. The camp, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on December 8th and 15th, 1 to 2 p.m. on December 9th and 16th, and 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on December 13th and 20th. There you'll be able to make your own candy house with a 45-minute session. Reserve a spot or buy a kit to take home. $30 for members, $40 for non-members, $25 for the take-home kit. Lincoln Children's Museum at 14th and P Street is hosting that event. Christmas party for kids, 7 to 9 p.m. December 6th and 7th, 3:30 p.m. December 8th, and 5:30 p.m. on and 7 to 9 p.m. on December 9. They'll be decorating cookies, having games, crafts, and a spaghetti supper. That's going to be at the Connection Point on North 33rd Street. For reservations, call 402-413-0017. Then there's a holiday spectacular on December 7th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. Celebrate Santa's arrival. Kids visit with Santa, music performances, characters in costume, indoor snowball fight, and more. The members are free. Non-members are regular admission. That's at the Lincoln Children's Museum on P Street. All holidays in the Haymarket will be from 6 to 9 p.m. December 7th and 11th. Horse-drawn sleigh rides, live entertainment, Santa Claus and carolers will stroll the Haymarket sidewalks. Performers in front of Ivana Cone at 7th and P Street, and the Graduate Lincoln 9th and P Street. And then we'll cover one other one nearby. It's called Jingle Jog. That'll be 9 a.m. with check-in and breakfast served at 9 a.m. check-in, breakfast served at 10:15 p.m. on December 8th. It's a fun run that will be at Mahoney Park out by Ashland, and it doesn't really give any more specifics to that. So if you're a runner and you want to participate in that, head out to Mahoney. And then finally, upcoming, the North Pole Express. Advanced tickets are suggested. Be the first to ride the train on the brand new rails traveling through Candy Cane Lane, where you will stop to write your letter to Santa, see some of his favorite animal friends, meet Santa, enjoy treats, and make your own cookie. Event times are available are at 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. on December 14th at the Lincoln Children's Zoo. Peter?
Okay, I'm going to read something from the horoscopes, but first, a quick tip from Heloise. Dear Heloise, one of my favorite hints is very simple. When trying to open a bottle that's hard to open, I use a nutcracker. to grip the cap and twist it off. Most grocery stores sell nutcrackers, and that's from Shirley in Locust Grove, Virginia. Now, the horoscopes by Jacqueline Bigar have a star rating system. 5 is dynamic, 4 positive, 3 average, 2 so-so, and 1 difficult. I'll just talk about the 3 that get a 5 rating today. So these are Gemini. This is, of course, dynamic. Honor a change involving a friend. You can't take back words you've said, though you could have a strong reaction. Try discussing your feelings without inflaming a situation. Working as a group proves far more effective than being independent. Tonight, where you want to be. Okay. Second, Leo also has a 5-star rating. Read between the lines as you walk into a situation where people have strong opinions. Understand the underlying issue. Help others see what they have in common, as opposed to what is different. Communication allows greater give and take. Tonight, return calls, then decide. And finally, the last 5-star rating today is Sagittarius. Your playfulness might not be in tune with others' moods. Someone you care about could be on the warpath. This person's actions and words might surprise you. Be a good listener and look for solutions. Your willingness to help will come through. Tonight, time for fun.
This is Barbara Quinn's nutrition column entitled Giving the Gift of. Here are a few gift ideas that will last longer than Christmas morning. Sustain the environment. For the take your lunch to school or work bunch, the Eco Lunchbox is a cute little stainless steel 3-piece lunchbox that replaces plastic bags and soggy sandwiches. A mere 4 inches wide, 5.5 inches long, and less than 3 inches high, it has room for dietitian-approved portions of a small sandwich or other entree, plus 2 side dishes. It is dishwasher safe and available at ecolunchboxes.com. Sustain those in need. Heifer International, www.heifer.org, has a 70-year history of providing food-producing animals to impoverished families around the world. A donation of $20 in the name of a special person on your Christmas list buys a flock of chickens that grow up to lay protein-packed eggs, 200 per year per hen. For $30 donation, a hive of bees can pollinate crops and provide honey that a family can sell or to buy food. For $60, a tree that produces fruit or nuts can be planted to nourish a needy family. Sustain hope. Vision Trust, visiontrust.org/Christmas, allows your gift recipient to provide spiritual and physical nourishment to a child in need. Donations to this international organization in the name of someone on your list with a heart for children provides tools and seeds for planting a garden, water filters that give families access to clean water, and other basic medical treatments for children living in poverty. Sustain healthy eating. Who says that nutritious food can't taste good? For the wanna be a more creative cook on your list, I've rediscovered the Flavor Bible by Karen Page and Andrew Dornenberg. Little Brown is the publisher, 2008. Besides its fun quotes, great cooks rarely consult cookbooks, Charles Simic, U.S. Poet Laureate, and wisdom from some of America's most imaginative chefs. This book presents in alphabetical order foods and spices that marry well with other foods, seasonings, and particular cuisines. Anyone who spends time trying to spice up their life in the kitchen will appreciate this book. Another easy read that addresses today's main issues in nutrition from both research and real-life perspectives is this author's Quinn Essential Nutrition, The Uncomplicated Science of Eating. No pressure, but signed copies are available to order at QuinnEssentialNutrition.com. Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, another quick hint from Heloise. Dear Heloise, I was recently married, and in the household I came from, we always refrigerated ketchup after it was opened. My new husband came from a household where they didn't like anything cold, so they did not refrigerate ketchup. So my question is, should we refrigerate ketchup or not? And this is from Stella in Napa, California. And Heloise replies, Stella, All ketchup and mustards should be refrigerated after opening to retain flavor and freshness. Good advice from Heloise. And now a letter to Amy Dickinson. Dear Amy, actually the title of the whole section is Sometimes a Thank You is a Great Gift. So dear Amy, my young adult daughter and her partner have lived together for 4 years. They live 300 miles away. I am very fond of my daughter's partner and send her a birthday gift each year. I've never received a thank you. I'm flexible on the format. A text would be fine with me. However, nothing. This year, I asked my daughter if her girlfriend had received the gift, but that didn't feel right either. In the future, girlfriend and ask her directly, should I give up on this expectation and assume the gifts are received? The tracking number lets me know it arrived on their front porch. Of course, I'd like to hear that I selected a gift that was appreciated, but I really want to know if she got it. I've sent gifts to children knowing it was up to their parents as to whether I received a thank you. When sending a gift to an adult, my expectations are that there would be some acknowledgement. Amy, are thank yous and/or acknowledgements passé? And to did you get it? It's signed, did you get it? And dear did you, as the reply, a thank you never goes out of style. And I would say that over 4 years' time, a texted acknowledgement from an adult that a gift was received should be considered the minimum investment toward receiving a gift the following year. Her behavior is embarrassing to you because now you have to face the prospect of proactively chasing down this gift. Let's set aside the whole idea of even saying thank you. Packages get nabbed off front porches. Even with accurate tracking, senders only know if someone actually received a package if the recipient tells them. And here's a holiday bonus for all of you clueless or awkward recipients out there. Let's say you receive a gift, even if you don't like it. Oh no, what should you do? At the very least, you should send a text or call saying, hi, I got the gift you sent. You are so thoughtful to think of me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. A slightly more clever and more fun version of this is to take a selfie or a video selfie of yourself holding the gift and deliver this message to the sender's phone. It takes 30 seconds and is much appreciated. And yes, polite and high-functioning people often also follow up with a note. Given this woman's behavior, I think it's time for you to transition towards birthday cards. Then all of you can stop worrying about it.
From Los Angeles, Black Panther, A Star is Born, and Mary Poppins Returns are among the American Film Institute's top 10 films of the year. AFI announced its selections for the 19th AFI Awards on Tuesday, recognizing works deemed culturally and artistically significant by a jury of AFI trustees, scholars, and critics. The selected films include the aforementioned blockbusters, the horror film A Quiet Place, The Favorite, Barry Jenkins, James Baldwin adaptation, If Beale Street Could Talk, Bo Burnham's coming-of-age film, 8th Grade, Black Klansman, First Reformed, and Green Book. The organization is also giving a special award to Alfonso Cuarón's Roma, which did not fit the criteria for American films. AFI also recognized 10 television shows, including Atlanta and The Americans. The honorees will be recognized at a Los Angeles luncheon on January 4.
Okay, turning to the business and the markets. In business briefs, a short item entitled Renewed Trade Jitters Send Stocks Bond Yields Lower. Stocks slumped on Wall Street Tuesday as traders worried that the U.S. and China made less progress than originally thought on defusing their trade dispute. Bond prices surged, sending yields sharply lower as investors turned to lower risk assets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell nearly 800 points, and the yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury note declined to its lowest level in 3 months. The wave of selling erased the market's gains from a day earlier. Big losses for Boeing and Caterpillar, major exporters that would stand to lose much if trade tensions persist, weighed on the Dow. And we have an article entitled, U.S. Coal Consumption at Lowest Level Since 1979. The subtitle is Domestic Coal Use Drops Despite Trump's Efforts to Revive the Industry. This is datelined Washington from the Associated Press. Americans are consuming less coal in 2018 than at any time since Jimmy Carter's presidency, a federal report said Tuesday, as cheap natural gas and other rival sources of energy frustrate the Trump administration's pledges to revive the U.S. coal industry. The U.S. Energy Information Administration projected Tuesday that 2018 would see the lowest U.S. coal consumption since 1979, as well as the second greatest number on record of coal-fired power plants shutting down. The country's electrical grid accounts for most U.S. coal consumption. U.S. coal demand has been falling since 2007 in the face of competition from increasingly abundant and affordable natural gas and renewable energy, such as solar and wind power. Tougher pollution rules have also compelled some dirtier burning coal plants to close. Coal's continuing slump comes despite President Donald Trump's efforts to prop up the industry. That includes scrapping the Obama administration's signature Clean Power Plan, which would have spurred electrical suppliers to turn away from coal-fired power plants in favor of cleaner forms of energy. Ironically, the new tax law approved by the Republican-controlled Congress has encouraged coal plants to close, as utilities use a provision that allows them to accelerate depreciation costs for closing plants, said Joe Pizarchik, who directed the Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement in the Obama administration. Despite the continued drops in domestic coal use, 2018 has been a better year for the industry thanks to soaring exports, said Joe Aldina, director of U.S. coal analysis for S&P Global Platts. Appearing before the National Petroleum Council Tuesday, Energy Secretary Rick Perry urged development of natural gas and petrochemical industries in Appalachian coal country. Quote, this is an economic opportunity for a region, unquote, that needs it, Perry said.
These are business news briefs. Gas prices have been dropping like a rock, raising the prospect of sub $2 a gallon gas. According to AAA, Nebraska tied with Iowa for the largest one-month drop in prices as of Monday, 46 cents. The recent drop in gas prices has largely been due to a drop in oil prices, which dipped below $50 a barrel last week, down more than $25 a barrel since October, before rebounding slightly this week. The low prices aren't likely to last long. Oil prices may go higher this week, depending on whether OPEC decides at its meeting on Thursday to cut production. A potential trade deal between the United States and China could also increase global demand for oil and push prices higher. From New York, an Arizona company is expanding the scope of its recall of raw beef that could be contaminated with salmonella, federal officials said Tuesday. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said in a news release that a unit of Brazil's JBS is now recalling a total of more than 12 million pounds of raw beef that was shipped around the United States. According to officials, information obtained in 3 additional cases of sickened patients led to the identification of other ground beef products that weren't part of the initial recall. JBS Tolson in Arizona already recalled about 7 million pounds of beef in October. Health officials say all the products up for recall have the USDA inspection number EST 267. The products were packaged between late July and September. The USDA says all the potentially tainted products have been removed from retailer stores, but the agency says people still may have products in their freezers that should be thrown away. There were 246 illnesses reported from 25 states as of mid-November, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. All of them started between August and mid-October, while 59 people have been hospitalized and no deaths have been reported. Energy giant Royal Dutch Shell has agreed to set short-term goals for reducing carbon emissions that will be linked to executive pay. The decision was announced Monday after pressure from institutional investors who said urgency was needed to fight climate change and protect the value of their holdings. Shell says it will set the targets for rolling 3 or 5 year periods beginning in 2020. The move supplements Shell's long-term goals, which call for the company to reduce its carbon footprint by 20% by 2035 and 50% by 2050. CEO Ben van Beurden says the targets were the result of unprecedented collaboration with investors and will help to ensure the company thrives as countries around the world cut emissions to comply with the 2015 Paris Agreement on climate change.
WellCare of Nebraska is proud to bring you today's reading of the Omaha World Herald and the Lincoln Journal-Star. For more about WellCare, call today at 888-255-2605 or visit www.wellcare.com/Nebraska. And now turning to sports from the Omaha World Herald, Meyer's retirement will create void atop the Big Ten. This is from Sam McEwen, commentary, dateline Lincoln. You could watch Ohio State coach Urban Meyer from afar and sense his constant, overbearing presence. Tim Beck saw it up close. The former Nebraska offensive coordinator worked for Meyer at Ohio State in 2015 and 16. We talked in the summer of 2000, some on the record, some off, about comparing and contrasting NU and OSU. And here's one line that came from the conversation. Quote, everybody's on the same page. And I'm talking about everybody, Beck said. The janitors all the way up. When you have all that in unison, all that in alignment, that's part of the winning process. Coach Meyer can manage people, motivates them, all people. Coaches, food service, travel people, unquote. There wasn't a single detail, Beck said, that escaped Meyer's notice. When you're that much of a perfectionist, that obsessively focused on the trees, you can burn down the whole forest and play dumb about who started the fire. So Meyer's retirement announcement on Tuesday was not surprising. It might even have been necessary for Meyer and for Ohio State. Meyer cited persistent health issues with the brain cyst and the headaches it can cause. She had surgery on it in 2014, but the headaches flared up again in 2017 and 18. Right as Meyer's ferocious, hard-charging style, coupled with a selective memory, started to take its toll on the program. In 7 years, Meyer won 82 games. He dominated the Big Ten like few other coaches, thanks to his obsessiveness in all areas of the job.
In University of Nebraska basketball news, the last time Nebraska men's basketball team was ranked in the Associated Press Top 25, the Huskers went 5-3 through their first 8 games of the season, lost to Incarnate Word at home, and played 2 of the more ignominious rock fights in the program history against Cincinnati and Loyola Marymount. So no, the Huskers are not taking their trip to Minnesota lightly as NU wraps up the early portion of Big Ten play. Nebraska tips off against Minnesota at 8 p.m. Wednesday at Williams Arena in Minneapolis. It means a lot, but we're not really worried about that, senior guard Glenn Watson said of NU's number 24 ranking in this week's AP poll. We've just got to take care of our game and just keep winning. Nebraska 7-1 has won enough to warrant a spot in both the AP and coaches poll, 25th. Wednesday's game will be the first conference tilt as a ranked squad for NU under 10 miles. The last time the Huskers were in the AP Top 25 came early in the 2014-15 season when NU was the preseason number 21 team in the country before stumbling early in the year. Save for one forgettable night in Kansas City, there have been few stumbles thus far. Nebraska took care of Illinois on Sunday in its conference opener and has a chance to keep on the early league pace with another win against the Gophers. The coaches are a lot smarter. They had us ranked a month ago. NU coach Tim Miles cracked. It's great for recruiting, but honestly, it's so early in the year, it doesn't hold a lot of weight in terms of how we view it. There's plenty of weight for the Huskers to bear in their current stretch of games. After Minnesota comes a Sunday home game against Creighton. Then it's a trip to South Dakota to take on Oklahoma State. And suddenly the Huskers seem to have more eyes watching. There was nearly double the normal amount of media at the Hendricks practice facility Tuesday to talk with Watson and Miles, as there usually is before NU leaves on a road trip. After mentioning Sunday evening, there was someone had already written Minnesota on the whiteboard in the locker room after the Illinois win. Miles said his team has remained focused throughout the week. But mental toughness in practice and winning on the road in the Big Ten are two different things. Should NU come away with a victory Wednesday night, it would be the first time in 104 years the Huskers have won consecutive games against Minnesota in Minneapolis.
Yes, and in the Omaha World is an article entitled "Folks' Arrival Took Huskers to New Heights," and folk is spelled Foeckke, so I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's easy to forget now, but not so long ago, Nebraska volleyball was the program that couldn't get over the hump. Didn't have the difference makers on the outside, didn't have the servers and passers for crunch time, didn't have the right chemistry. From 2009 to 14, John Cook's Huskers lost 4 regional finals, 1 Sweet 16 match, and 1 second-round match. That included a stretch of 3 consecutive Elite 8 defeats in which the Huskers won a grand total of 1 set. Then Michaela Folk arrived. The past 3 years, Nebraska made 3 Final Fours and won 2 national titles. It wasn't all because of her. 3 Papillion La Vista South Titans were pretty good too, but folks' clutch kills have become their own little Husker tradition. Folk hit a season-high 667 average Saturday night in her Devaney Center finale. She took 46 swings without committing an error in 2 weekend matches. Quote, "Tell me the last player that did that," unquote, Cook said. She's an extraordinary talent who plays her best at extraordinary moments. Now Folk prepares for perhaps her toughest test, a meeting with Kentucky, followed by a potential regional final against Minnesota, which beat NU twice in Big Ten play. Folk's greatness is secure. She owns 2 most outstanding player awards from Final Fours. She's one of the 10 best Huskers of all time, no matter what happens in Minneapolis. But if the senior from small-town Iowa can carry these young Huskers past the Big Ten championships on the Gophers' home court, becoming the first player in NU history to start in 4 consecutive Final Fours, well, look out, Jordan Larson.
In NU and other area news briefs, Nebraska football is picking up a seasoned defensive tackle. Oklahoma State defensive tackle Darian Daniels plans to enroll at Nebraska as a graduate transfer for his senior season in 2019, according to GoPokes.com and the Tulsa World. The 6'3", 300-pounder is the older brother of Husker sophomore nose tackle Damian Daniels. Darian Daniels, who was a 4-star recruit from Bishopton High School in Dallas, played 4 seasons for Oklahoma State, though his senior year was cut short by a finger injury suffered in practice the week before the 5th game this season. He is allowed by NCAA rules to maintain his season of eligibility because he played in only 4 games. In Nebraska volleyball news, Midland's Priscilla O'Dowd was named a first-team volleyball NAIA All-American on Tuesday. O'Dowd, a senior middle blocker, was named All-American for a fourth time after helping lead the Warriors to the NAIA national semifinals this past weekend. O'Dowd became Midland's all-time leader in kills with 1,776, block assists 507, and attack percentage .393. Bellevue senior Shayla Scanlon was named to second team, and Midland senior Jessica Peters and Hastings senior Sage Meyer were named to the third team. In wrestling, Nebraska's Isaiah White was named Big Ten Co-Wrestler of the Week after winning the 165-pound title at the Cliff Keen Invitational in Las Vegas over the weekend. White, a junior, went 5-0, defeating the three top 15 wrestlers on his way to becoming the Huskers' first champion in the event since 2014. White, ranked 10th nationally, defeated 5th-ranked Logan Massa of Michigan in the semifinals. In baseball news, Creighton announced its 2019 signing class, which includes Lincoln Southwest senior Cam Frederick, who was ranked among the top middle infielders in the state. Also includes Grand Island's Cole Evans and Mount Michael's Patrick Collins. And finally, in basketball news, the Peru State men's team, 7-1, is ranked 17th in the first NAIA Division I coaches poll released Tuesday. Other Heart of America conference schools in the poll are William Penn 4th, Benedictine, Kansas 15th, and Graceland, Iowa 25th. The Masters California is ranked number 1. Peter?
Thank you. And in women's basketball, UNO at Creighton Women, 7 p.m. Wednesday, Sokol Arena, 11:80 a.m., 12:90 a.m. The article is entitled Blue Jays, Mavs both see benefit of continuing to grow rivalry. This is by John Nyatawa, N-Y-A-T-A-W-A, who's a World Herald staff writer. Creighton's Jim Flannery had just watched a prideful Nebraska team hustle and fight its way back into Sunday's game, producing the kind of near comeback typical of a rivalry showdown. Neither side was going to relent, not on a game like that. His Jays just happened to survive. And soon after the 74-65 win, Flannery was being asked if he'd be ready for another intense matchup against a motivated opponent in 3 days. Absolutely, he said. The CU coach has no intention of discontinuing the annual intra-city showdown between Creighton, 2-4, and UNO, 4-3. Wednesday will be the 5th straight season that the Mavs and Jays face off, and Flannery can't wait. Quote, "We made a decision that we're going to play them home and home," he said. "I think it's good for the city, good for the state, for girls and women's basketball. We're excited about it," unquote. CU has won 4 in a row since the series resumed in 2014. The results have been one-sided as UNO has completed its transition into Division I under coach Brittany Lang. But Flannery has told his team to expect a test from the Mavs at 7 p.m. Wednesday at Sokol Arena. Quote, "They'll do a good job of preparing," unquote, he said. UNO has won 3 straight games since starting the season 1-3, perhaps signaling that its retooled roster is starting to gel. Lang said she'll be curious to see how this squad handles Creighton's spread-the-floor style of play. The Mavs haven't been able to keep pace in this matchup recently, turning the page. But no matter the result, the game will be beneficial, according to Lang, to help her team grow, to help showcase the sport locally, to help grow this rivalry. She's looking forward to it. Quote, "Any time in women's athletics or in general that you can have a game that means a lot to local people, I think it's really important," Lang said. "We have some familiarity with each other. You're trying to build traditions. You're trying to build rivalries and trying to build that attraction. It's only positive to play with the 2 teams in Omaha," unquote.
Well, actually, it looks like we're at the top of the hour here, and time for us to roll up our papers and make way for other programming. This is Bob Gotting. It's been a pleasure reading for you today, and have a great cold week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Peter Kaczynski signing off. Thanks for having me today. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Bob and Peter, for doing a wonderful job reading.
So I looked at, just glanced at my Facebook, and on Facebook, just did a news brief on there, and Burger King, in their infinite wisdom of being able to come up with promotions that are just a little on the bizarre side. If you download their app onto your phone and get within 600 feet of a McDonald's store, it'll automatically trigger a coupon to you that you can buy a Whopper for 1 penny. So I'm considering this, that a fact that I have to drive almost right by a McDonald's on my way to the grocery store now, and I live right next to the Burger King.
Yeah.
I may see if that works.
It's a good burger. It's, you know, what I like about Burger King is that they actually have a vegetarian vegetarian.
Oh, yeah.
Why McDonald's hasn't done that in all these years, I can't figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife would probably, I didn't know Burger King had a vegetarian.
They do. It's not bad either.
She won't go to either one of those.
Well, I mean, I understand.
She prefers like a salad. She'll have a hamburger once in a great while.
Yeah, I know. We have a 5-year-old grandson, so we get to go to McDonald's more often. But I'm just saying it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're a vegetarian, all you can get are fries.
Yeah.
You know, or ice cream or something like that. There's nothing else. She'll go in and order a cheeseburger and say, put the meat on the side. So they'll give her these 2 sorry pieces of bread with a little slice of processed cheese on it, half melted, and then the burger will be in another container on the side. Get there.
Wow. How long has she been a vegetarian?
Oh God. 40 years,
wow,
45 years, practically her entire life, really. But I'm just saying, but they do have a decent vegetarian burger at Burger King. Just saying.
My son's fiance is Indian, and she doesn't
eat beef.
She doesn't follow that.
Oh, well.
But her parents do. Her parents are vegetarians.
Yeah.
And so when they came up and visited in October, we had to come up with a.
Does she eat beef though?
She'll eat anything. I mean.
Okay, but I mean, a lot of the Indians won't eat beef, but they're not necessarily vegetarian.
I mean, I'm not paying any attention to see if she's actually chosen a beef dish, but even in Indian restaurants, she'll own like.
Well, it's cultural too.
You know, so,
yeah.
But her parent and her mom will. But the funny thing is, her mom will drink like a beer or wine or something.
Yeah.
Her dad won't drink at all. So
it's not a Hindu thing.
It's not a Hindu thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just his thing. You know,
yeah, it's his thing. Yeah.
So
I had a Japanese teacher once who didn't drink any alcohol, and I later found out it's because it basically put him into, what do they call it, anaphylactic shock or something. He couldn't breathe after he drank alcohol. So here's a Japanese man who doesn't drink alcohol, which is amazing because they all drink, you know.
they get fall down dead.
They can't handle it very well. That's the thing. You know?
Well, my understanding, and it's the same way with the Native American population. There's an enzyme that they have that does not allow them to break down
lactose intolerance. That's another one, which is genetic, really.
Yeah. Well, his fiance is lactose intolerant.
Really?
And if she knows she's going out someplace, cheese doesn't bother her. It's only milk.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if she goes anywhere where they're going to have anything that she thinks is going to be, she takes lactase, which she says works really good.
Oh, okay.
It's just a little pill you take that's supposed to really help with that.
Huh.
Well, thank you, Peter.
All right. It's
good seeing you again. I don't see you before. Have a good holiday.
Yeah, have a happy holiday to you too. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
All right. Hey, I have a cookie.
Well, Betty.
There's like cookies that will dry your tongue here.
I successfully walked past that like
Dry your tongue.
4 times.
All right, we'll see ya.
Did you get your receipt?
No.
Oh, Betty.
Hopefully it'll work for you.
Yeah, got it all. I went ahead and got it all booted up. Yep. I'll log us in and.
Have a good one.
Thank you, my darling. See you. Thanks so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Good, good. Thanks again, Bob.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Betty.
May see you again. Take care,
Actually,
Okay, Ryan, I may stop on time today.
no, actually, not.
All right. Oh, you did? Okay, yeah.
On, well, the granddaughter. On Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday's a good day,
Okay.
because I take my son and grandson to school, and out and about.
Okay. Because it actually runs on Thursday, but it's no problem to do it on Wednesday. Because
Yeah,
it's the week in review, so it's not like top of the,
right, yeah,
okay,
So next Wednesday.
Wednesday. And like I said, it doesn't get granddaughter, oh no, I have so many, so many people like, okay, it does run on Wednesday, but it doesn't run until like.
Oh, no, what, I'm coming in the morning,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Wednesday morning, okay, I'll let you know.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, sure. Hey, Ryan.
Yep.
Ryan, always be good. Can't be good.
Heard that many times. Be on my tombstone.
Or if you can't be good, just be good at it or something. That's another variation. I like that one too. All right.
Thanks,
See
Peter.
you next time. I'll be in next Wednesday.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Sorry to interrupt your meeting or Facebook. I thought perhaps, sometimes coworkers, they get boundaries of, but occasionally you run across those emotions, so they can help it. Perhaps this is one of those times, but it's not, thank God. What, with crossing of emotional boundaries? In the workplace, I don't know. This question I have for you, what excited this whole conversation is about, it's a wonderful line from this one. Are you doing it? I'll call Megan and check with her, but I'm listening to it. Run it myself. It's not gonna go. That's what I thought. Oh, that's right. When do you come back? I'm the same governor. No, I'll have it. Yeah, good enough. I'll get her done.
Oh, shit.
Homeowners Association of Nebraska are excited to announce a holiday community matinee. Join us on Sunday, December 16th, for It's a Wonderful Life at the Film Studios Dundee Theater. Release